Hello and welcome to the SRO eSport GT series. We've got another pair of 1 hour races coming up for you this afternoon. One for the Pro class, which is our professional racing drivers, and one for the Silver class, which is for the sim racers. My name is Jack Nichols. We've been joined as ever by David Addison, Ben Constanduris and John Watson to bring you the coverage of these races today. And this is round 4 of this SRO eSport GT series. The final round will be coming up in 3 weeks' time on the 21st of June. So what happens today is really going to implicate what happens in the championship over the rest of the season. Let's bring in David Addison, shall we, on this. Very good afternoon, David. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Looking forward to another 2 hours of racing around Barcelona.
Jack, it's going to be another excellent 2 1-hour races. We've seen great competition, haven't we, within the Pro class already. The Silvers have perhaps on occasions shown the real-world drivers how to do it. We've had 3 races, 3 different winners, both in Pro and in Silver. Now we come to yet another different venue, and the conditions set to be really hot, so tyre management is going to be important, front, left tyre particularly. I think we're going to be in for another fascinating day of racing, and as you rightly say, we're getting towards the crunch point now as far as the championship is concerned. Keeping out of trouble, banking points today is going to be vital.
Now, as far as the main championship is concerned for the Pro drivers, Ben Barnicoat won last time out at the Nürburgring. He's now got a 9-point lead over Louis Delatraz at the top of the championship. And Delatraz has been pretty consistent throughout the championship so far. He's the only driver to have scored points in all 4 races, but he hasn't yet taken a victory. But, David, he's had a very strong qualifying session.
And he lines up on pole position, doesn't he? So Louis Delatraz has been doing exactly the right thing, banking points, scoring where he needs to. Also, by not being an outright winner, he's also been able to stay the right side of making that Porsche really lardy, because the better you do, the more weight the brand carries, not just you as a driver, but the whole brand, everybody's car within that brand for the next race. So yes, he's going to have 17 extra kilos in the Porsche, but it seemingly has not been a big handicap in qualifying. What's going to be fascinating, though, is that lining up alongside him is a newcomer to the championship, Federico Leo, former European GT3 champion. So he's coming into this without any points as far as the championship is concerned, and he's here really for pride. He wants to show just how good he is.
Yeah, he's in with the mix of the championship contenders. We'll bring you down through all of them over the course of the next hour or so. Let's bring in John Watson, 5-time Formula 1 Grand Prix winner, and of course the voice of the GT World Challenge alongside David. Watty, good afternoon. How are you looking forward to Barcelona?
Well, I'm delighted that we got a Porsche lockout in the front row of the grid, and I will be even more delighted if we see a Porsche taking that checkered flag. I don't mind which of the 2 drivers it is, but one thing that is impressing is Louis Delatraz has been consistent and competitively consistent over the 3 rounds we've had so far. What also is of interest is further down the field, in 11th place, that's the 6th row of the grid, is our championship leader, Ben Barnicoat, in a McLaren. McLaren carrying an additional weight this weekend, another 25 kilograms. And we know, certainly we saw this in one of the earlier rounds, Spa, to some degree at Nürburgring, the weight penalty seems to be a bigger penalty in sim racing than it is in real racing. Now, whether that's going to be the case here this weekend, this afternoon, for Ben Barnicoat, it's going to be difficult. Though it's one of the toughest overtaking circuits on the calendar, can he find a way from the 6th row of the grid to get up to the front of the field by the time the checkered flag falls?
Well, let's take a closer look at this Barcelona circuit that you mentioned, John. This is the Bentley Fanatec onboard lap, and this is your track guide with Danny Kloss.
I'm Danny Kloss, and I am racing with K-Pax Racing by SRO eSports with the Bentley Continental GT3, and this is my lap at my home track, Circuit de Catalunya. I hope you enjoy it.
Here, let's take a deep breath to start the lap. First corner, deep braking into 3rd gear, maintaining the right of the curb for a good exit from turn 1 to turn 2. Be early on power. Turn 3, short shifting to 4th, keeping the inside line for an early throttle application. Here you need to be on power early. Use the whole track, the whole width of the track. And going into turn 4, quite deep, and it's important to stay on the inside for a better traction and steering straight. Going into turn 5, 2nd gear, be patient and using the momentum to accelerate straight. Here is important the exit, as there is this downhill going down to third gear into 7th corner. Use the rolling of the car and early on power, because it's important to be good on exit as it's an uphill corner. Turn 9, 4th gear, early on power. Important to not lose the apex because there's a long straight coming. Here also take another deep breath and big braking into first corner for turn 10 and early on power. As turning lever, just you need to be a little bit clipping the inside curve and be really patient for turn 12. Any mistake can make you lose a lot. Turn 13, there's only one line. You cannot slide the car. Going into this chicane, first gear, shifting into second, and full throttle to the last corner, where you need to be also quite precise and finishing the lap.
The cars are on their formation lap now, making their way around to the grid. The first of 2 one-hour races coming up. The first one is for the pro drivers. After this, we'll have a race for the silver drivers, which are some of the top sim races in the world. But let's hand it over to our commentary team, Ben Constant, Juris, John Watson, and of course, David Addison.
Jack, thanks. Let's go racing, everybody. Round 4, then, of the SRO GT Series, this eSports Championship that has given fantastic racing thus far. More of the same set to come here at just after 6 o'clock local time, Barcelona. It's a Porsche lockout at the front of the grid. Louis Delatraz then in the Gulf colours, the GPX Racing liveried car, with newcomer to the series, Federico Leo, former European GT3 champion, Italian GT champion, International GT Open champion, lining up alongside him. Federico Leo is certainly no stranger to GT racing. It's going to be fascinating to see how he gets on. Lorenzo Marcucci shares row 2 with Ivan Pereiras. Arthur Rougier is on row 3 with Simone De Luca. Then it's Ezequiel Perez Compact and Jordan Pepper on the next row, ahead of Michael O'Brien and Luigi De Lorenzo to round out the top 10. Championship leader Ben Barnicoat goes from 11th. David Perel, who is 7th in the championship, goes from 13th. Andy Soucek, who is 9th in the championship, he will go from 19th. So a lot of drivers are going to have to be on their toes, but this is going to be a fascinating race, no doubt about that, as the cars now work their way down towards the completion of this formation lap. See the way that Federico Leo is jinking around, trying to make sure that he's got the temperatures and pressures where he wants them. But keep an eye to that Audi, though, number 188, Lorenzo Marcucci, because he was the very impressive winner at Spa, and we'll see how he fares here then as the cars make their way up towards the completion of this formation lap, ready for 1 hour of racing. Is everybody going to be able to keep out of trouble through the first couple of corners? Well, time will tell. Down they come now, then towards the turn 40-50 chicane, and then they will get themselves in this 2x2 Noah's Ark style formation, ready for the rolling start. The race director, Peter Roberts, if he's happy, will give the instruction for the race to get underway. Of course, wriggling out of the chicane and getting back into formation is not the work of the moment. So Federico Leo now on the outside line has to pull up level with Louis Delatraz, who led the majority of that last race at the Nürburgring, lost out late race to Ben Barnicoat. He wants to redress that here and score a maiden victory in the SRO GT Series, the eSports Pro Series round 4, then set to get underway as the lights go green. It's a good start by Delatraz, then Leo slots in behind him on the run down towards turn 1. The red Audi of Ivan Pereiras comes up on the outside line to have a go at Marcucci. Delatraz comes off the inside on this long pit straight down towards turn 1, 3 wide. Marcucci in the Audi on the outside. There's one car off on the inside, and chaos, I fear, is about to ensue. Yes, it has, because cars scatter all over the shop in avoidance, and there's more mayhem. Look, Aston Martin getting involved, lots and lots of cars off the road. We'll come to that in a moment, as up front Delatraz leads the way, but John, drama at turn 1.
Well, it was not unexpected, and I think it would have been Ben Barnicoat we saw should have been turning left. Hopefully that wasn't his car, but a clean start from Delatraz and from Leo, so they've gained the advantage. But the car I want to keep an eye on is Marcucci, because he has done a strong job running third in the championship. He knows he can maintain that third spot. All he has to do is stand for keep him very much in the championship hunt.
I have a horrible feeling that Ben Barnicoat did get caught up in all of that, possibly also Jordan Pepper. Ben will dive into the game and have a look and try and unravel who we've lost already. We've got drive-throughs, though, being offered up. Scott Mulvern and Chris Froggatt being given early drive-throughs for either a jump start or track limit abuse, as through there goes Pereiras. So Froggatt and Mulvern, Ferrari and Bentley drivers respectively, attracting the attention of the in-game penalties early doors. But Louis Delatraz then leads. He's trying to break clear to the tune of almost half a second already, except scrap that. Leo is right on his tail then now as they come down towards the chicane, up towards the end of the opening lap. It's Porsche 1, Porsche 2. One lap about to go in the book here at Barcelona as they come up now onto the pit straight. So the Porsches carry 17 extra kilos, come over the line. Then you've got the Audis running third and fourth, with at the moment Marcucci just ahead of Arthur Rougier, and then in fact Audi fifth as well. You've got Ivan Pereiras. Don't forget the Audis are ballast free, so that might play into their hands as the race wears on. Now let's have a look at the replay of the start, John. Cars all over the place.
I just in the middle of the pack, you can see that blue and black McLaren. That's the car. Oh, somebody went absolutely down the inside. No braking whatsoever. I think maybe one of the Aston Martins. So that would look like a mechanical failure coming into turn one from one of the midfield pack cars. That didn't contact with the McLaren of Ben Barnicoat. Maybe he had something just on the second part of the turn one, turn two complex.
And then behind them, you've got Simone De Luca 6th, Dan Wells going great guns as ever in 7th, Ben Tusting, another impressive effort by him, 8th. David Perel is up into 9th place now, having started 13th, and Ezequiel Perez Companc, who got his first points last time out, is in 10th place, but now it's game on for the race lead. Leo there, all over the back of Delatraz, Marcucci all over the back of Leo, he goes to the outside line. This is for second place, and Leo tries to squirt up alongside Delatraz. Marcucci gets roughed up, forced out wide all over the curve. Here comes Rougier, he goes third. Yes. Arthur Rougier gains the place, John.
He read it very well, because there was an error on the part of Marcucci. He was never going to go around the long way around the outside, down the hill into turn 10. So he's lost that third position, and it could have been second had he maybe been a little bit more patient. Again, for some reason, Delatraz lost a huge amount of time. Okay, maybe half a second, but it allowed Leo to get right onto the rear wing of the Porsche coming through turn 9, and then it all began to sort of spread out coming down the hill into turn 10, and that's where Rougier, who's under attack now from Marcucci, he wants that third place back, and I think he might have done enough as he side by side into turn 1. It's the transition into turn 2. He's done it. He's managed to get that third place back. Strong race from Marcucci, and we're only 7 minutes into it.
We're getting another drive-through. This is for Fabrizio Crestani for an incident with Scott Mulvern on the opening lap of the race. So as you look here at the recovering De Luca after his big slide a few laps back, of a lap ago, that's put him down to 8th place. You're on board with David Perel, Coach Dave, and he lines up to have a go on the inside. Job done, goes through. Does he go wide into the corner? Well, he does run it out wide.
All a bit untidy and a bit messy and a bit, how's your father? So 3 cars on the exit of turn 10, and that was a big move by David Perel. I mean, I don't know whether that's in his coaching book or not, Coach Dave. Anyway, maybe he invented it just on that single lap to make a move, and whether he really got away with it or not, he's still illustrated or showing as being in 9th position. Fuminelli and the sister Ferrari directly behind him, and then Nicky Hildebrand in the third of the 3 Ferraris in 11th place.
But the one that lost out in all of that was Simone De Luca, Ben, wasn't it? Because his was the Audi we saw effectively being elbowed out into the gravel.
Yeah, and there will be damage on all 3 of those cars, and the drivers will feel that. We may not see it, but they will feel the lack of pace and will not necessarily have a complete 100% performing car. I've been keeping an eye on Ben Barnicoat's lap times to see exactly where he's at. Okay. He's about a second slower than our leaders. He's in 15th position, but he is carrying a little bit of damage on his car. So a little bit of points is all that he can hope for.
Replay here of that hip and shoulder moment that fired De Luca across the gravel and put David Perel down in 10th place. David Fuminelli up to 8th. Nick Hildebrand up into 9th spot, and Nicholas Hildebrand pressing on, trying to gain further ground then as the cars head downhill once more.
If he blinks, if he makes one little move to try and defend, he will have another Audi looking to go the other way around. So not a great position, because he wants to attack Delatraz, but he can't take a chance and do something which might be creative. Look at the gap between first and second. Suddenly that's opened up by maybe just about a second, as Leo is focusing now more on what's happening behind him than maybe trying to get his position back. to challenge for the lead.
So Delatraz really for the first time in the race, now that we're at almost the halfway point, finally has a bit of a gap as for second and third they're going to be side by side. Marcucci to the inside line, he's gone through. Does he go wide? Yes, Leo comes back at him. Rouget has a go as well, can't find a way by. One up, one back then for Lorenzo Marcucci. Briefly second, but he's back down to third. It was going to happen, John, wasn't it, with all that speed carried into the corner?
Yeah, I mean, you could see the way the two Audis working in tandem were building back of the second place Porsche. In the meantime, so where's the lead? Oh, there's the lead. Porsche has pulled out at 1 point, or just at 1 second advantage. All of a sudden, it's much more comfortable for Delatraz in the lead than it is for Leo in second place. Because not only has he got Marcucci, he's going to have to deal with Rouget if Marcucci gets through.
So over the line they come, defence again for second and third. Marcucci to the outside of Leo. Can't find a way by there, but Delatraz thinks fantastic because now he is disappearing up the road. The gap, 1.8 seconds last time around. And look at Rouget now, all over Marcucci like a cheap suit. You've got Ivan Pereiras catching up as well, and Dan Wells is almost with them. So suddenly, all the gaps have shrunk, apart from the lead one that's opened out. Delatraz has checked out now, he's away and gone. But Leo busy trying to defend that second place. Pereiras is trying to defend for fifth. Right, we'll keep another eye on that. As Ben, penalty update please. What's Alex Buncombe done wrong?
I think we may have seen this. Buncombe on Hildebrand and race direction seeing that perhaps he had an ABC, so advantage by contact. And so he's been given a 5-second time penalty. If you cast your eyes to the left-hand side, to the timing screen, that is signified by plus 5 seconds. So he doesn't have to do a drive-through penalty. He'll just have time added to his finishing lap. And that's where you will see all the time penalties, whether they be manual given by race direction and Richard Norbury, or whether they are from in-game with cutting the track, or indeed, as we saw at the start, lots of time penalties for effectively jumping the start, but obviously race control felt that was unnecessary.
So again, the Audi breathing down the neck of the Porsche. Federico Leo is under attack. Marcucci chipping away lap after lap. He's stared at the back. He's been ahead for a fraction of a second. Can he make the move once again and score a real second place? Let's see.
I think the thing that Marcucci needs to do to get past, and he's going to have a go down the outside once again, but now maybe the undercut might work for him. Yes, it has. So Marcucci sold the bluff, did a great job on Leo. He's got into second place. The key to getting to second place is not just finishing in second place. Now he's got an opportunity. The gap between first and second is now 2.7 seconds, 16 minutes remaining. The pace that Marcucci has shown all the way through this race, enabling his Audi to keep in contact with the two lead Porsches. How quickly can Marcucci get ahead of Leo and run that gap between first and second place? He wants to win this race to get the maximum points. As you pointed out, Leo wasn't going to score points. The key to the overtake wasn't just getting second on the road, it was giving him the opportunity to have a pop at race leader Louis Delatraz with just 15 minutes to go.
So down they come. Again, intriguing to know all the ins and outs of this, all the different nuances of sim racing. Soucek, meantime, is throwing everything at this. The clock has just hit 0, which means that round 4 of the championship has hit the 1 hour mark. It means that when he comes across the line, Louis Delatraz will be on target to score a race victory, take the checkered flag. He's going to do that now, in fact. So Delatraz set for the race win from Lorenzo Marcucci and Federico Leo for third place. As here is the fight between Hildebrand and Soucek. The Ferrari is going to stay ahead as they come then up towards the timing line. Through they go, and Hildebrand it is that takes 10th on the road, and is Soucek 11th, but they'll move up one place on the point because of
the one more lap.
Wild card. As he squeezed through ahead of the clock. Okay, so Delatraz gets one more lap out of it then. A second and a half clear. And Marcucci has brought it down, Ben, hasn't he? But not enough.
It certainly has brought it down. I mean, at the final lap, I wouldn't imagine that Delatraz needs to be that generous in allowing Marcucci to close down. But the 1.5 second gap will give Marcucci, well, is there a problem with the Porsche? Have I got something I can still manage to do to take victory? Or is it just Delatraz being uber cautious and just thinking, maybe actually Delatraz might have thought that he had taken the checkered flag because the countdowns that he might have on his sim might have indicated. So I think he went across the line with probably a few seconds of the race remaining. So he's got one more racing lap to complete.
So why is this gap coming down, then?
Delatraz was at turn 3 when the clock went to 0, but he's caught 2 cars in traffic, and now he's at the final turn. So we are going to get the checkered flag in a few moments.
Okay, so looking at what's going on for 10th on the road, Louis Delatraz is about to come across the timing line then to win round 4 of the championship. There's the checkered flag on the graphic, so 35 laps done, and the margin just 9/10 of a second. So Delatraz wins from Marcucci in 2nd place, 3rd Federico Leo, Arthur Rougier takes 4th, and Ivan Pereiras 5th, with David Perel in 6th place. There is Pereiras taking the checkered flag. 7th goes the way of Dan Wells ahead of Ezequiel Perez Compact. David Fuminelli should be 9th, here he is, and 10th should go the way of Nicholas Hillebrand, actually shaking off Andy Soucek on that last lap. But Louis Delatraz did everything absolutely right in that, didn't he? He was able to defend in the first, 2/3, control the gap, and was able to maintain the advantage all the way through. And Ben Barnicoat, championship leader coming into the race, doesn't score. He goes ahead of Alex Buncombe, who is limping towards the line. So Ben takes 12th, make that 11th because of the lack of points for Leo as a wild card, but it still doesn't get him into the top 10. Still frustration for Ben Barnicoat after his dramas at the start of the race. And Alex Buncombe limps over the line, losing it out to Matt Samuel.
He may have run out of fuel.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
I think so. He's just taken the checkered flag, and obviously you have to fuel your car for a race distance in sim racing, something that Gianni Morbidelli didn't know the last few in a race that I did recently. But Buncombe has done it.
Ben, when you say run out of fuel, you're talking about fuel as I would know it, in other words, petrol or diesel, or you're talking about e-power?
No, you just have to choose how many laps of fuel.
Got you there.
I'm not getting into electric cars, no way.
So Louis Delatraz takes the race win from Lorenzo Marcucci. 3rd wildcard Federico Leo with Arthur Rougier 4th. 5th goes the way of Ivan Pereiras and David Perel. 6th ahead of Dan Wells, Ezequiel Perez Compact. 8th David Fuminelli, 9th, and 10th Nicholas Hillebrand. But Andy Soucek is promoted into the points, and therefore the first one that misses out after a long hour for no reward.
We're now going to turn our attention, I don't think we've got anyone else to speak to, no we haven't, so I'm going to turn our attention to the silver class that we've got coming up next, because at the moment it is David Tonitza who is leading the championship on 31 points. He is 4 points ahead of Patrick Selva and Jesus Cecilia, and then he is 6 points ahead of Andrea Capoccia in 4th position. So those are the 4 that are in contention for the title. And on the grid, it is 2nd place man Patrick Selva that has secured pole position. Arthur Camara is in 2nd, Kamil Franczek is 3rd, and Andrea Capoccia, who's 4th in the championship, is 4th on the grid. Now, David Tonitza has only qualified in 8th place. He is the championship leader for Ferrari, but we haven't really seen him qualify at the front throughout the year. He's been another, like Delatraz, who's been a consistent point scorer. The big surprise, I suppose, is that Jesus Cecilia, who won the last race at the Nürburgring, could only qualify 28th on the grid for this one. So this could knock him out of the real title fight. Ben Barnicoat lost the championship lead, so it'll be Louis Delatraz who will arrive in the pro class, leading the standings. 10 points ahead of Marcucci, Barnicoat down to 3rd, Ivan Pereiras in 4th. Those are going to be the title protagonists in the pro class. In the silver class, David Tonitza leads at the moment on 31 points, but he's only 4 points ahead of Patrick Selva and Jesus Cecilia, and then it's only another 2 points back to Andrea Capoccia in 4th in the standings, and we're going to get a closer look at how that championship battle is going to unfold going into the final round in the next 1 hour, because the cars are on their formation lap in the Silver Cup class for round 4 of the SRO eSport GT Series. So let's throw it over to Ben Constanduras, John Watson, and once again, David Addison.
So, it's not an easy track to overtake around, and we know that turns 1 and 2, the real pinch point on the first lap of the race. What is going to shake out for the Silver Series then. 3 races thus far, 3 different winners. Remember, in terms of ballast, Aston Martin's lug around 25 kilos, Porsche 17 and the Lexus 10. So those McLarens up at the pointy end of the grid, ballast free, and they're really good around here anyway because of their shape. It is round 4 of the Silver Series within the SRO eSport GT Series. We are about to go racing them. Patrick Selva versus Arthur Camara. Slightly more black colouring on the front of Selva's car to tell them apart as they head up towards the line. Camille Franchic's Lamborghini alongside the Audi of Andrea Capoccia on row 2. Keep an eye to number 95 Ferrari of the championship leader David Tonizza. We go racing. It's a good start by Camara from the outside of the front row, just getting the drop on Patrick Selva as they head down towards turn 1. Through the middle of the boat, though, comes the Lamborghini. Camille Franchic on his toes, tries to prise open the door. He's got past Capoccia. It is going to be Camara that leads. Selva goes second, so he's been mugged off the line. Franchic is third, and everybody else is trying to be fourth at the moment with Capoccia just ahead. But, John, they've done better through turns 1 and 2 than the pros did.
Much better start from the sim drivers, and pretty much everybody stayed on track. I think one car got a little bit wide in the transition from 1 to 2. But certainly a strong start from Camara on the outside of the grid. He had that momentum more than Patrick Selva had for some strange reason. So he's got the lead. Will he do what we saw Delatraz do in the pro driver, albeit that Delatraz was on pole at turn 1? That was a good overtake by Arthur Camara to take away the benefit of being in pole position. And now, well, he's got, what is it, 3/10 of a second up the hill into turn 9. Before then they get round turn 9, dive down the hill, and this long line of cars follow my leader. And notice, not in the top 10 is there a front mid-engine car. Those are the cars that dominated in the wet weather at Nürburgring. That's why they won at Nürburgring. And that's why Jesus Cecilia starts 24th here this afternoon. The layout of the track is more favourable to the mid-engine, rear-engine cars.
Absolutely right. And David Tonizza also, Ben, has dropped back, hasn't he? So from being 8th on the grid, the championship leader has already got roughed up, and he's lost 2 places. He's only 10th. He's barely in the point.
Absolutely a very difficult start for the Ferrari, and a lot of action just out of camera shot. Further back, we have a couple of cars facing the wrong direction. Not cars that have really featured in the top of the standings, the likes of Gregor Schill, Tarek Gamil, Luca Lossio was also facing the wrong way. Daniel Santoro, he's been strong actually, but he was facing the wrong direction. I think we may see some pit visitors at the end of this first lap. Jesus Cecilia has parked it on the before the end of the first lap, facing the wrong direction. No points for that Aston at all today, for sure.
Dear, oh dear. So he was then 2nd equal in the championship. He will drop down. Arthur Camara, though, 5th equal, leads the way. And right now, he's building the gap ever so slightly over Patrick Selva, who is there in 2nd place. 3rd is Camille Franchic, having really his best showing of the championship thus far, running in 3rd place then as the cars drop downhill once again. And this is the view from Enzo Benito, John.
Yeah, coming up into turn 7, keep it neat and tidy. You run the curb on the exit through 8, then up the hill. So this leading group of, 7 or 8 cars, all covered, well, less than a second between each of the cars. Now, there's bits of marker cones on the racetrack or bodywork. I don't know what that is. Everybody's staying well to the right of the racetrack as they come down in and get your braking spots correct. And the camera, I mean, maybe just settling down. He's got the lead. He doesn't have to worry very much at this phase about Patrick Selva, 7/10 of a second behind. So he can just go about his work, do what he saw, what we watched Delatraz do, contact further down through the field, and you can see crash, bang, well, that's coming out of turn 5 and into turn the curve of 6, not really a corner, it's more of a curve.
So Noyox is closer as they come over the line. Noyox is taking with him Petrichenko. To the inside line goes Noyox. He's defended by Capoccia. So Niels Noyox goes to the outside line. Brakes hard, he's going to do it. Is he all the way around the outside? Yes, job done. Excellent move.
And Petrichenko likewise is going to catch with Capoccia, who was all over the place, but runs rather wide on the exit of turn 3. But good move by Noyox to the issue. Forced the error from the Audi driver, got ahead. Now it's whether Petrichenko can follow through, because Capoccia seems to think, well, I've given up a position, but I'm not going to give up for the remaining part of this race.
And Enter Benito there, dropping back, I think, in the packs, losing out to Jan-Marcel Dietrich. So Benito 8th in the championship. He's another one that's not really making the progress in this. And David Tonitza, the championship leader, is still down in 10th place. It's a tough day at the office, it seems, if you're the championship leader. Ben Barnicoat didn't score in the pros, and David Tonitza, by his fingertips, is clinging on to 1 point here.
And he's not even the lead Ferrari. The lead Ferrari right now is Benito in 8th position. So Noyak's, what's he going to do now with the 3rd place Lamborghini? Goes one way, goes the other way, goes the long way. That's the way he got past a lap or two earlier. And an easy overtake there. Absolutely, as if the Lamborghini Fanatec almost gave that position away without very much resistance.
So it is Kamil Franchak staying ahead. He goes to the inside line to defend on the run to turn 1 to the outside line. Way off the road goes Petrochenko, and he's going to swoop through and do it this time. Job done just as Noyaks went round the outside to take a place away from Franchak. So another McLaren has done the same. These are going to be mighty heavy cars going into the last round, wherever you decide that will be, because it's going to be McLaren's 1, 2, 3, now 4. So the maximum success weight will go to the McLaren brand. It could bite against them if they're fighting for a championship, some of those drivers. However, right now, Petrochenko is thinking about himself, he's thinking about points, and he's thinking about getting his best result of the championship, and he is on target for 4th place.
So it will be 2 laps, I think. He's just coming through the last turn now.
So Selva is under attack, seemingly, from Noyaks. Here they are then, as over the timing line, camera is away and gone. Selva is 0.462 of a second up. Again, relentless pace of Noyaks. He pushed, he pushed, he pushed, he got into the top 3, and he's kept on pushing. Here they come, down towards turn 1. So Selva now, John, is under real pressure, isn't he?
Yes, but what Noyaks has to do, I know it's easy to say and it's very difficult to do. You saw the speed in which he closed down 2nd place Selva. If he allows himself to be dictated by Selva, then he'll lose that pace. He'll be then driving at the pace of 2nd place Selva rather than the pace that he himself was generating in clearer air. So you have to make your move as quickly as possible, and that's about thinking about where you might have more strength than the 2nd place Selva's car has. That's what you have to do when you're driving a racing car. It isn't just about the physical aspect about it. You need to think to where you can make a move, where it might be possible. More importantly, maybe to think or know where it isn't possible.
So Noyaks here trying to force a mistake out of Selva, who is possibly thinking about banking points. He doesn't want to give away a place, but he doesn't want to get involved in a battle and risk not finishing at all. Ignore the Bentley in the background, that is a lap back. All of this squabbling is playing into the hands of Arthur Camara, who looks set to have a first McLaren win, because don't forget, although he won at Monza, that was when he had a Mercedes. He's been a McLaren driver for the purposes of the championship, but for that charity race, he drove a different brand altogether. So Arthur Camara for the G2 eSports team leads the way. Patrick Selva then in 2nd spot, comes down the hill for Racing on 3. And Niels Noyaks, another of the G2 eSports drivers, there in 3rd place. So it's going to be one more lap, isn't it? This is it, over the target line.
Mr. Selva's, in those last sort of 3 corners, 14, 15, 16, has always been able to just give himself enough of a margin that when they come on to then down into turn 1 and into turn 2, that he's got that margin enough to keep Noyaks behind him now into the long turn 3. Noyaks is closing, you can see, but in the latter part of the corner, the gap spreads out. That's simply because the aero effect on the 3rd place McLaren is pushing the front of the McLaren wider than Noyaks would like it to do, and consequently that's where he's losing maybe a couple of tenths of a second.
So can Noyaks find a way by? He's running out of options here, Ben, isn't he, on the last lap?
Absolutely, his pace way better than the 2 guys ahead. Camara even backing off on that last lap, although he doesn't necessarily need to push now. And Noyaks really doesn't have that many opportunities left in terms of overtaking opportunities. I'm just a bit worried about McLaren come to the last race in the championship. They're going to be so heavy.
Absolutely right. And seeing that one of the options is a rather hilly circuit like Bathurst that you could vote for, that's really going to hurt them there. A flat circuit might not be quite so bad, but anyway, we'll talk about voting post-race, because right now it is still game on for 2nd. Niels Noyaks here looking to try to dislodge Patrick Selva from 2nd place. Ahead of them, remember, it is going to be Arthur Camara for gold. Selva for silver and Neujoks for bronze, seemingly as they head towards the completion of the last lap. Then McLaren's absolutely dominant in this fourth round of the Silver Series, and it is going to be 4 races, 4 different winners, mirroring what we have in Pro. Checkered flag at the ready. Arthur Camara comes out of turn 16 up to the checkered flag. Arthur Camara wins at Barcelona. Who is going to be second? Is it going to be Selva? Yes, it is. Patrick Selva takes second, Nils Neujoks third, and for fourth place, some way back, but again, the best that we've seen out of him all year, and also reflecting the pace of McLaren. Yuri Petrichenko is on target for fourth place. Fifth will go the way of Kamil Franchak, and sixth will be Jan-Marcel Dietrich here ahead of Andrea Capoccia. Then David Tonitza for eighth place, and not the result he wanted, but at least he salvages points out of this. No, he doesn't get eighth. Alberto Garcia takes eighth place. 9th is Chris Hurker, 10th is Tobias Pfeffer, and Tonitza ends up 11th, dumped down to 11th on the last lap out of the points now.
Was that a contact that led to Tonitza losing those positions, or was just he made a mistake and he just got out fumbled? That we didn't see on screen, but clearly a very, very damaging final lap for championship, or was championship leader Tonitza.
Ben, what can you unravel from within the game?
He got turned around at the chicane at the last time, exactly the same as his teammate Benito mid-race. So that was really disappointing for Enzo.
Indeed so, and disappointing for David Tonitza, who actually took the flag in the pits, looking at that graphic. We've got Tarek Gamil here, still busy squabbling with Andre Frank, and this is for 22nd and 23rd places. So no points for Tonitza, and that's going to hurt him in the championship, as we say. Now just keep an eye on this Bentley fight, 22nd and 23rd, as they come down towards the chicane. Others have finished their races, but out of that Bentley squabble, who is it going to be? Andre Franca should be able to hang on to the place. Yes, he does. Runs a little bit wide out of turn 16, but he stays ahead of Tarek Gamil as they come across the line. So a very good race for Arthur Camara to score a first victory. Patrick Selva to take over the lead of the championship. He's second in the race ahead of Nils Neujoks third, his best showing of the season. Yuri Petrichenko taking fourth, his best showing of the championship thus far. And then behind in fifth place, Kamil Franchak, who also records one of his best finishes. Not the best, but he had a fourth, a fifth is a pretty decent effort. Sixth for the second race in a row, Jan-Marcel Dietrich ahead of Andrea Capoccia, then Alberto Garcia from Chris Hooker, and Tobias Pfeffer rounds out the top 10.
Thank you very much for joining us for round 4 of the SRO eSport GT Series. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time for the title decider. The track is up to you. Those are the choices: Kailami, Suzuka, Bathurst or Laguna Seca. Head to the SRO social media channels to vote there. And when we arrive, wherever we arrive, the Pro class is being headed by Louis Delatraz, 10 points ahead of Marcucci, with Ben Barnicoat a little bit adrift in third position. But it's all up for grabs because the drivers who have done well here are going to have the extra weight for that final round. In the Silver Cup, it's now Patrick Selva leading, 2 points ahead of Arthur Camara, then quite a big gap back of 12 points to Capoccia and former title leader David Tonitza. But we've seen how often things can swing around over the course of these 1 hour races. 2 more to come, and that will be in 3 weeks' time, 21st of June, Sunday the 21st of June. We will see you then for the grand finale of the SRO Esports GT Series.